What's up everybody, how's it going? It's Burke aka Danskawait here, and welcome to the final episode of the epic Final Fantasy IX Attack Only, No Magic Stones challenge. We have made it to the end, my friends. In the last episode we defeated Transkuja, and only one entity stands in our path before we can complete the game and continue our streak of being able to beat Final Fantasy games using only the attack command. So for one last time, I would really appreciate it if you guys hit that like button and show the video a lot of love. If you have been enjoying the series, please send it off with a bang, and without much further ado, let's get into it and talk about the final boss battle of the game. As I mentioned, one of the best things for this particular challenge about fighting Necron is that it's not a true back-to-back fight. Even though there's not normally like a save in between them, we have the autosave that you can have as a result of playing the Steam version, which is incredibly useful for repeat attempts. And two, we are able to change our team and enter the menu. So you can enter the battle against Necron with full HP and make any tweaks to your equipment that you want to make before starting the battle. So that is pretty huge. I mean, if it was the case that it was a true back-to-back with Transkuja and Necron, then it would have been a whole different beast. But since we don't have to do that, I was ready to give it my first try and see what the mighty Necron could do. So while the cutscene happens and things build up, let me start with some information. Necron has 54,100 HP. So not an incredibly high amount, which is good for this particular challenge. And of course, it's the general weakness of a lot of the most difficult bosses in the earlier Final Fantasy games. Well, storyline bosses especially. So, let's see how this first attempt went against Necron. Let's get straight in there. See the damage, 2,500 from Freya. That's pretty good. Obviously weak from Steiner because his weapon's attack power is low. 3,200, not bad. But before Amara can get a turn, Blue Shockwave comes in. But good evasion from Freya. Immediately a Blizzaga afterwards. As you can imagine, one thing that they tend to do in these games is give enemies a lot more turns, and that just makes it way harder to deal with. So yeah, in the space of one of my party's turns, I got hit with 3 attacks, one of which was a Meteor, but luckily I managed to survive it all so far. So literally Meteor by itself could have wiped me out if I get bad RNG, but I managed to survive. And Zidane went into trance, so, well, Freya too actually. So honestly, I thought to myself, 54,000 HP, I'm doing pretty good at the moment. But then Protect came in, and this is when things started to go a little downhill. So only 486 damage from Steiner, and only 1,900 from a tranced up Zidane. And then came my nemesis, Grand Cross. The one Achilles heel that we have in this particular challenge is the fact, as you know, that we cannot deal with status effects very well. And this attack is the mother of status effect attacks. It's basically a bad breath style move. It basically inflicts everything under the sun. It's not like 100% affliction for everything, but I think the rates are fairly high, and look at the devastation this is going to cause here. 2 petrifications. Amaran died instantly. I think maybe he got heat or something. I couldn't even keep track. Like, so many things happened here that I couldn't keep track of what was going on. Then Neutron Ring comes in immediately after Grand Cross when you're already completely devastated from all the damage. Steiner's also poisoned for good measure, and I don't even know how much damage. 3,312 damage from Neutron Ring, and that hits everybody. And so I was like, okay, we kind of had a nice start. I think the first like 10,000-15,000 damage, we really raced through it, and things were looking pretty good. But then we got completely annihilated in no time at all. So Grand Cross was looking like a major problem in this challenge. There's not really that much we can do about it. I mean, I don't know mechanically how well magic evasion works against it. Obviously, we're going to never get anywhere near having like 100% magic evasion anyway. So one of the things I was thinking was that yes, I can try to increase my magic evasion a little bit. I think it's already quite high. It's about as high as I can reasonably have it. But if there's anything I can kind of eke out, then that might protect me a little bit from some of the status effects, potentially. But other than that, there wasn't really too much I could do here. It was going to be, you know, making better preparations in terms of increasing my party level, increasing my preparation with trance, so try to create a situation in which all 4 of the frontline party members could go into trance against Necron. And those were, I think, the 2 main things that I had, other than a few small tweaks here and there. So I took a little time to have a look at the wiki for Necron, see what he has, see if he has anything that we can exploit. And one of the things we can do is basically exploit his weakness to wind. And the only character we have that can actually do that is Amarant. So we're going to downgrade to the Kaiser Knuckles, but because it has a wind elemental to it, and you do 50% more damage if you use a wind elemental against Necron, it still works out as more damage for Amarant if he's using the Kaiser Knuckles. So that was one of the adjustments I made. I did put the Kaiser Knuckles on. But for everybody else, my strategy was generally the same. I figured that if I just go straight up attack and I don't heal my characters at all, I don't think I can damage him fast enough, especially because he uses Protect and that kind of thing. I wasn't going to be able to blast him out before he killed me. And so I kept my same kind of strategy that I had with Trance Kuja, where I have Freya, who can heal Amarant, and then also if there's an attack window, her weapon's strong enough to continue doing damage to the boss. And then I have Steiner with his Fireblade, and he can heal other party members as well. So it's going to be a mix of kind of healers and attackers, and I decided to basically launch back in for attempt number 2 and see how that one would go. Last time I got off to a pretty quick start, but then I was mowed down pretty fast after Grand Cross happened. Let's see what happens this time. Only one of my characters got an attack in before Necron got to use their first move. So already there's a little bit of RNG involved there. Last time 3 characters got a move, this time only 1. And when it's the case that each character can do like 1,000 to 4,000 damage from a hit, then you probably want your best attempt to be like something in which you get 3 or 4 attacks from the start, so that first like 10k HP you can already remove pretty quickly. But you can see after Protect, already it's not taking very much damage at all, and the Protect came in very quickly for this particular attempt. So my damage output is pretty bad here. Good heal from Steiner though. And before any time passes in the fight, Grand Cross is already on its way. And one of the primary things I wanted to do early on was basically try to face Grand Cross as many times as possible and see like what are the chances here, like what is the average kind of RNG. Last time I literally had 2 characters petrified, and one of them I think had the heat status or something that wiped him out instantly. So effectively 3 of my 4 characters will wipe out from one single move. Is that going to happen every time or not? And here's your answer. So he's spamming Protect a little bit, but the good news is that this time no one got insta-KO'd from Grand Cross. And another thing that was generally helpful was the fact that it doesn't do any damage. And so that was a little bit of a reprieve, because obviously you're going to need some time to recover. If you're asleep, you need to wake up. If you have any statuses that can be recovered from or that don't cause you death, in general, that little window that you have afterwards before Neutron Ring comes is nice. So in comes Neutron Ring. Last time it did 3,300 damage to Steiner. This time my party is pretty healthy here. I mean 3,100 and above for everybody. Let's see. Huge damage there. 4,200 for Freya, unfortunately. And so even though Zidane goes into trance, we're already heavily on the back foot here. The trouble with this setup is that basically Amarant can only be healed by Freya. So as soon as Freya dies, Amarant cannot be healed again unless we get very lucky and Holy gets used on him. But as you've seen so far, Holy doesn't seem to be much of a factor here. So yeah, now we're going to have to stick it out for as long as we can and see how close we can get here. Very spammy with Protect, which again led me to think that maybe there's an alternative RNG where he doesn't use Protect, he spams Shell instead, for example. But we will have to see. Blue Shockwave again, and you're seeing like after Neutron Ring, he's spamming the Blue Shockwave. Good heal there from Steiner despite the darkness. And so we're continuing to chip away the damage, but I think it's pretty slow at the moment. 54,100 is not a lot of HP for a final boss here, but when he uses Protect and Shell quite a lot, then it basically acts more like a 80, 90, 100,000 once you factor in how much of the fight he's going to spend with those protective buffs on. Okay, so Grand Cross number 2 comes in. We've had kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. The first one hit us really badly, completely destroyed us, and the second one was definitely a lot more forgiving. And so there was a little bit of hope that if I get a little bit lucky with what happens with Grand Cross, there is a chance that we can continue the attack afterwards. So let's see the second one. Was it a fluke last time? Yeah, so Zidane got hit with Death and Amaran got hit with Confuse. So definitely not very good. Steiner hit with the Trouble status or Sadness or whatever it was called. Then Neutron Ring comes in basically immediately after Grand Cross. And so if you haven't been able to recover your HP yet, this is a complete party wipeout. So obviously Amaran's dead. Thankfully Steiner was just about up to the challenge. But obviously from this state onwards, like, we're not going to be able to do anything in this fight. We can only just wait for the next one. Now what you're noticing here is a little bit of a pattern. So it seems to be going Grand Cross, then Neutron Ring, then it uses Blue Shockwave multiple times, and then a Grand Cross comes again. Now the good thing here is a Blue Shockwave, if you have healers in your team, is kind of a free move. It's not really that bad. Even if you drop to 1 HP, if you have all of your party alive, and 2 of them, say Freya and Steiner, can do healing in between, then generally you can still keep your party healthy. And so this right here, what you're seeing is quite a big window for damage if you have the right kind of party setup and you've been lucky enough with the RNG to be able to still be alive and still be able to make hits at this particular point. But Grand Cross comes in one more time, and eventually I think basically the amount of statuses that can end the run is so high that I think you can't really hope for more than 3 or 4 Grand Crosses total, where you basically survive afterwards. I think each one is going to pick off probably at least 1 character on average, maybe 2, and so it just makes it incredibly difficult. So have a look at this one. This was Grand Cross number 3, and yeah, like mini status, basically just annihilation. And so attempt 2 ended very quickly as well, without doing a lot of damage. So at this stage I wasn't even really particularly close, unfortunately. So now the question is, where do we go from here? I thought about it for a little while, and I said to myself, you know what? I think it's time we bite the bullet and we do some actual legitimate level grinding. And when I say legitimate level grinding, I mean illegitimate level grinding. Basically, I hacked in some higher stats, I gave myself more experience points, and I got myself up to around level 80 this time. So as I've shown you guys already that obviously at this stage it's more than possible to just grind for as many levels as you need at this stage. And I thought to myself, I'm not even close with what's happening right now. Other than hoping for some RNG luck, I don't think there's too much more I can do at this stage. So I need to increase my firepower so that even after Protect is used, I can continue to do a lot of damage. And obviously, if I have more HP to start with, then my survivability goes up, and there's less chance of me being wiped out from something like Neutron Ring. So that's what I did. I upped my levels to about level 80, so about 25 levels higher than what I had before, and I came back in for another run. So this time you'll see I kind of messed it up. My plan was to try and bring everyone in with high trance gauges, but beat Trance Kuja without anyone getting into trance, so that I could have potentially 4 people in trance for Necron, because obviously that's another way to bypass the Protect that he keeps on spamming. And so in general that was the plan, but I didn't really execute this properly. But I just wanted to sort of get back in and see how different the battle looks once you're over level 80. So I'm going to forward ahead here to the next Necron fight, but that was the general idea for my next attempt. So you can see the stats here, quickly running things through. I believe because I had the right stuff equipped for the actual kind of leveling up process, I think the stats I have are something close to what they should be. So like the stats themselves have got the equipment bonuses and stuff, I believe. If they haven't, by hacking in the experience, I've kind of ended up shooting myself in the foot, like I've made it harder for myself. So basically, at best, it's what they should be. At worst, I'm actually like a lower strength level, for example, than what I should have been if I did it completely manually. So either way, I don't think it makes too much difference. We are trying to find out if this fight is possible or not, and so for me at least, I don't really care too much about that side of things. One thing apparently I did change back was that I did go back to Rune Claw. I decided I want to go with the weapon that has the higher attack power. Ultimately, I don't think that's the right choice, but for this particular attempt at least, that's what I decided to go for. So this is attempt number 3 now at level 80/81. Let's see how it goes. Okay, here we go. As you can see, the trance gauges are very bad, so this is not a good idea, but I was more trying to see what my damage output would be now with the stats that I have. And you saw how quickly he came in with the Protect. Like, that was really nasty. I barely had a chance to do anything, and Protect already came in. So 1,870 with Protect. 1,900. Definitely a notable increase there for characters like Freya, for example. Definitely doing better. Amaran does not heal from fire. He's the only one that doesn't, so he got taken out very fast. So we just keep attacking. So you can see, I mean, there is an improvement in attack damage, but it's not, like, insane. Grand Cross comes in. Let's have a look. I'm going to skip the animation for this one. Sometimes it just takes too long. 2 petrifications here. So, yeah, petrification is basically one of the worst ones. Once petrification happens, you're done. I speed the fight up. I'm just like, just kill me. I don't care. But you're seeing that same pattern again. Grand Cross, Neutron Ring, Blue Shockwaves, and then Grand Cross again. Okay, there's Doomstays as well. We hadn't been hit with Doom at all before, but this time we got hit with Doom as well. So, yeah, absolute shambles. So I came back in with higher levels and slightly higher expectations, but that didn't go very well. Let's get straight back at it again. I felt like I had a bad run last time. This time it acted before anybody even moved, which was fantastic. But Flare is one of the more forgiving moves that it can do, so I didn't care about it too much. At this stage, this was attempt number 4, and I felt like I hadn't had a good RNG run yet. I felt like attempt number 2 was okay RNG, but it wasn't particularly good. This one, the fact that it did shell first already gave me a little bit of hope. Like, look at the difference in damage output now. 7,000 damage from those 2 hits alone, and 4,200 on top. Now we are rolling. So if we can get away with it not using Protect for a little while, we can really pile on the damage here. So that's a good move for us, no problem. Firaga, in general, at this particular stage, also a good move, because Amarant can survive it. So good healing there for Zidane. Now Protect comes. But clearly there's going to be some kind of RNG run in which you're going to get at least 3 or 4 rounds in which Protect is not going to be used. And that's going to be like 30, 40,000 damage. And so that's going to give you a way better chance. Imagine that happening, plus having 2 or 3 characters in trance at the same time. Then your damage up is really going to go up. But again, I feel like no matter what happens, the chances of wiping this guy out before Grand Cross is very low. So you still basically have to pray to the RNG gods here that Grand Cross doesn't hurt you too much. See what they had to say this time. 1 petrification, and Amarant has the heat status. Lysaga comes in. And in general, we did fine. No problem. The heat status is gone from Amarant, thankfully. Getting spammy with that Protect once again. 1,800 is just not great, is it? So, Neutron Ring now. This time, because we have beefier HP, it's pretty much guaranteed, I think, that we can survive. Unless Freya gets very unlucky here. Obviously nothing we can do about poor petrified Zidane here. But maybe he's going to draw some attacks. Maybe that helps. So good heal there from Steiner. Bad effort there from Freya. But we're still continuing to chip away here. Steiner's going to try and heal himself. And it would be great to get a heal on Amaran here. Blue Shockwave. Okay. Freya's going to try to heal Amaran anyway. Let's see if she manages it. Nope. Unfortunately not. And that's an annoying miss there. He doesn't even have Darkness. Like, to miss Necron is just... that's just lame. You should never miss him. Blue Shockwave again. And so unfortunately our damage output has been pretty poor here. We've not been able to get much done in between the Grand Crosses. Another miss, unfortunately. But we have some more damage. So we're hanging in there. And Shell is being spammed. So it seems like there's a chance it uses Shell instead of Blue Shockwave. Or maybe it uses both. And there's a chance that it uses Shell or Protect on top of them. Whatever the case may be, we're doing pretty well. If only... ah, she did. Okay. So now we're in a great position. Well, great is a overstatement, but we are in some kind of position. Grand Cross comes in again. As I've been saying, it seems to me like on average 1 or 2 characters get picked off every time this happens. If you can get through a Grand Cross with no one being majorly debilitated or dead, then you've had a good RNG roll. Wow. So Freya survives with 5 HP here. She's in heat status. I'd already pre-selected a move, so nothing I could do. Amaran and Steiner are going to survive this though. But of course Amaran can't be healed anymore. And we definitely, again, we haven't done enough damage to be within, say, like 10k, and there's a small chance they could finish the job and that kind of thing. We're still too far away. That Protect is just doing too much. So Steiner heals himself up nicely there. But poor Amaran, he's in heat status, but he's also been stopped. So unfortunately this attempt is also basically over unless Steiner pulls off a miracle here. But what you're also seeing is that Protect does eventually wear off, and that's why it spams it so much, because if the battle takes long enough, you will get a chance to start doing big damage again once the Protect wears off. So if only Steiner could hit for like 4,000 or 5,000 here with his normal attack, it would have been nice. Alas. But you can see, even him by himself, he put in an extra 5k. So if we had like Zidane alive, or something like that, that would have been like an extra 10k damage. So the signs were there. At this stage I was pretty convinced it's definitely possible, but a lot of things had to go right for it to happen. So one more Grand Cross and I think you can start to see what's going to happen here. Well, this time nothing happened to Steiner. So this is one of the first times that I truly noticed that there is a small chance that you can get through Grand Cross basically completely unscathed. Definitely a low chance, but it is possible. So Steiner has held on for an unreasonably long amount of time in this particular attempt. But still, I think we're kind of nowhere near here. But I didn't feel like throwing the attempt away. I mean, maybe there was going to be some RNG miracle and Steiner was going to be an absolutely epic hero and basically take on Necron like half solo. But we're still doing well here. Steiner's put up a hell of a fight. Surely not. Surely Steiner can't do like the last 20-30k by himself. Or can he? Or can he? It hasn't reapplied Protect for a long time. That's also another important thing to note here. Steiner's still going. He refuses to give up here. One more Grand Cross. I mean, the RNG odds would say something bad should be happening to Steiner here. Something very bad. So I speed up here. Let's have a look. Yeah. So we had a hell of a streak, but unfortunately it came to an end. So just in terms of how long Steiner managed to survive for, that was generally a very good sign. But still, I think even in this attempt, again, we probably didn't do more than about 30k damage tops. And so we're still quite far away at this stage, unfortunately. So that's another attempt in the books, and still I wouldn't say we've got close at this point. And so for the next attempt, I decided to do things a little bit differently. More adjustments were made. I decided to give Amarant the wind weapon, which I think was ultimately the right decision anyway. But for his accessory, I actually gave him the ribbon. That was something I had forgotten. And so this way, we actually have 3 different healers. So we can have Freya with the pumice piece. Freya can heal herself. We have Amarant with the ribbon, which means that with the Kaiser Knuckles he can heal himself. And Steiner with the Flame Saber, he can heal himself as well. I decided to try also giving Zidane the ribbon too, just to make him healable by Amarant. I thought, let me just switch it up a little bit and see, because he's a more powerful attacker, he might also offer better healing opportunities as well. But ultimately, I don't think it makes a difference. Zidane could probably use the Rosetta ring or the other one. But I decided to come in like this. Basically, this way, the less I need one person to heal multiple characters, the better it's going to be. Bad RNG to start. We didn't even get a turn. But blue shockwave missing was ultimately not a big deal. And so now it's my turn. Or not. Because, of course, Necron doesn't operate like that. Necron has like a built-in, like he can kind of just do whatever he wants whenever he wants. First time we saw a Holy here, I think this was attempt number 5 or something, 5 or 6. And it was the first time a Holy came in. And that was very lucky. It happened to hit the one person who can heal from Holy. So this was looking good now. Look at that damage from Amarant. Crazy damage. So level 81, plus also using Wind Elemental, was making a big difference. So now Necron is sensing danger, and immediately he started to use the right moves. He did the Protect, and the Grand Cross came in, and so he's doing his best to shut the shit down before he gets destroyed. So let's see what happens this time, but I was already feeling a lot more confident here. The Amarant damage was crazy. Great damage. And 3 of my characters can heal themselves, so I thought this is looking much better. Basically this means that even if Amarant is left by himself, he still has a chance of doing big damage and taking out Necron alone. But this time I got very bad RNG, 2 deaths, a petrification, and a confuse. So this attempt was a wash. Let's move it along. Okay, let's try again. This time Flare comes in first. I think I was getting close to basically the most optimal setup that I could have that minimized the amount of RNG I needed. The only other thing left was basically, again, either to just once again bite the bullet and go up to level 99, and or try to come in with a prepped trance setup. So those were the only 2 things I had left in my pocket, I think. In terms of setup, I think this was about as good as I could hope for. But the damage output is looking way better here. So unfortunately, Zidane's going to die here. I think in hindsight, putting the ribbon on him was probably not the best idea. But another reason why being higher level is obviously a good thing here is because if I do get lucky and get some criticals, I'm going to end up doing way more damage. So the criticals are going to be really hefty now. Like Amarant's going to get close to quad 9 if he pulls off a critical at this stage. So let's see the Grand Cross this time. Yeah, so 2 deaths already and 2 petrifications. This was just a bad set of runs here. After that experience, I did switch Zidane back to the Rosetta ring. I thought that's still probably the best choice. At least he gets to heal from any fire elementals that's used. And since Steiner is the worst attackingly against Necron, if he's the one that's responsible for healing 2 people instead of Amarant, I think it's the more efficient choice. So, but we don't care about things like Flare. Flare's not a bother for us at all. It's all about basically Grand Cross and what it does at this stage, and how many times does it use Protect in the fight. Yeah, so now Amarant can attack himself. But the fact that even Freya's doing 3,500 now, that's definitely a big benefit here. And we still have our ace in the hole of utilizing trance damage. Now, unfortunately, Amarant didn't have ice protection, so he died, and then Protect came in. So this was already starting to look a bit bad. I'm starting to speed attempts up, as you can see here. It just feels like every time just one thing too many is going wrong. So once again, I'm in a terrible position here. And this was getting a bit frustrating at this point. Because I knew I had better RNG runs than this, but the last 3 or 4 attempts had been really pants. So unfortunately, I have to keep moving it along here. And so, eventually, I decided to bite the first bullet and make my characters level 99. We need to shorten this fight as much as possible. I prefer to shorten the fight than just rely on increasing amounts of RNG. And so this is what my stats looked like at level 99. These are not completely optimal, but I think they're decent. You can do better than this, depending on like what you have, like what you've equipped throughout and that kind of thing. But it should give you at least a benchmark for the kind of stats that you can expect to have at level 99. If you've generally been making an effort to equip things that have strength bonuses for level ups. So that's the general idea here. Strength is up over 70 for everybody, and that's definitely going to make quite a big difference. And HP is at around the 6,500 mark on average for the team. So with these stats, this is basically like my last roll of the dice. And if you look, I also did part 2 of my plan, which was to get everybody ready with something close to full trance, and hope that in the trance Kuja battle before it, I don't end up triggering any of the trances, or at least maximum only one of them, and then it gives me a chance to really unload the absolute maximum damage I can as quickly as possible against Necron. So I'm going to forward to the end of the trance Kuja battle. Even though I didn't execute it perfectly, 3 of my 4 characters had basically the chance to go into trance against Necron. Lots of flare style counters, as we know, very annoying. So this truly was like my last roll of the dice. I don't think there was any more preparations that I could make here. The rest was just down to RNG. We're level 99. We have 3 of the 4 characters are able to heal themselves, and the 4th character can be healed by the 3rd. Amarant has a wind weapon, and 3 of my 4 characters are close to being able to use trance in that fight. So I figured that's basically close to as prepared as I can be. From here on out, it's basically grinding the RNG and seeing how long it's going to take to be able to break through. So let's have a look at the first level 99 attempt that I had against Necron. Here we go. I get the first move. 3,700. 1,400 for Steiner, and then a Thundaga comes in. So you're seeing like the attack hasn't gone insane. I'm not exactly hitting for like quad 9. But obviously I'm doing even better than I was before. 4,000. And a critical quad 9. Just as I talk about that stuff. Amarant, because he has that wind weapon, on a critical he is doing quad 9, which is insane. A shell comes in instead of a protect. This is exactly what we want. And we are off to an excellent start here. Unfortunately, Freya had already committed to attacking there. Let's see if we can save her. The Zaga. I don't think she's protected against it. Yep, she dies, unfortunately. But we have 2 people going into trance. Because Necron likes to obviously hit everybody with his moves, the chances of multiple characters going into trance is pretty high. Alright, here we go. Now we're going to see some real damage from Amarant. Look at that. 9,900 from a regular attack here. So now, if we get some favourable Grand Crosses, we're going to really eat away that 54,000 rapidly. Let's see what happens. Still no protect for Necron, which is huge. So I didn't speed up here. I started to smell the chance of a victory. The battle had gone pretty well so far. Let's see. What do we got? The answer is not bad. Not bad. But Protect comes in, which was quite bad. Let's see if Amarant had already committed to a move. So far, at least, there is time for that heat to wear off. But it's increasingly looking like Amarant's been stopped there, or he's committed to a move. Okay. Yeah, got a little bit chaotic there. We're still alive. We need to hope for the best with Steiner not dying before he attacks here. What's going to happen? Now, we've got far enough into the fight for the first time that Necron has used Curaga on himself. We hadn't made it that far before, but a good critical hit. So Steiner's in Berserk. I thought he was in Heat status, but he's in Berserk. So that's kind of bad because unfortunately he can't heal. But maybe, just maybe, they can get over the line anyway. Shell comes in. Can these guys bring it home before the next Grand Cross / Neutron Ring combination most likely kills them? A lot of missed blue shockwaves as well, but a miss from us as well, and that's really annoying. But great damage from Steiner here. He's really given it everything. Just as the Protect had worn off, that's why he could do more there. It would be very funny if these two, after everything, could bring it home. So another miss there. And they made it. I really couldn't believe that these two held on. And the fact that Steiner basically did the lion's share of the work near the end was absolutely epic, because literally his build was like the weaker build here, because he only had the Flame Saber. He was supposed to be the one that basically heals himself and heals Zidane and keeps him in the fight. But because he survived, as you've seen, his survivability for some reason has been just better than everybody else's. And the fact that he was in Berserk status meant that he could actually still do pretty good damage against Necron. So Necron ended up digging his own grave by giving the weakest character attackingly, Steiner, Berserk. And so there it is, my friends. I'm pretty sure it could have been done at like level 80, probably even level 57. I reckon at level 57 as well. It maybe would have taken 50 attempts, 100 attempts, whatever it would have taken, is doable. But I decided to just, especially after a very long series, to just kind of condense things as much as I can, reduce the RNG factor as much as possible, and bring it home. And so there it is. We asked a question at the start of this series. Can you defeat Final Fantasy IX using attack only without using any magic stones? And the answer, my friends, is yes. So we continue basically our perfect streak of Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy VIII, and Final Fantasy VII all being possible using attack only. I think the closest one, I would say, where we've had to bend the rules the most heavily is probably Final Fantasy VII and Diamond Weapon. But I would say like the strategy that we found to pass that one was still good enough that I would say it still falls pretty much within the attack only general criteria that I've set myself. So I'm very pleased to be able to get to the end of this one. This game actually took longer than I thought. Like, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of boss battles. There's a lot of traversal. There's a lot of like dialogue. There's a lot of everything. And so thankfully, if it was also an extremely difficult variant of the challenge, I think this one would have taken like, it would have been maybe like 12, 13 episodes to get everything done. But thankfully, because the challenge itself wasn't quite as hard as some of the other ones, in general we were still able to make it through, I think, probably the easiest out of all of the others that we've tried so far, despite the Magic Stone restriction as well. Now, before I wrap everything up completely, there is an elephant in the room. Maybe not an elephant, but a giant, spherical, multicolored, spinning ball of death. Yes, my friends, I'm talking about Ozma. So I've been talking about how, in general, I would say this run's been pretty easy compared to the other ones I've done. But the big question that I'm sure is on a lot of people's minds is, yeah, but what about Ozma? And I decided to include Ozma as well in this challenge. I will talk more about it in the next episode. I had promised to do 9 episodes, and for the story I managed to complete everything in 9 episodes, but what I will do is share with you guys what happened when I decided to fight Ozma as well in a bonus epilogue episode, because I wanted to split the two up. I didn't want to have both Necron and Ozma in the same thing. It was going to take me too long, and I felt like it'd be nice to have its own special kind of epilogue bonus episode for Ozma. So yes, indeed, Ozma will be attempted in this challenge, but for now I am going to wrap up this particular video and just say thank you all once again for supporting the series so far. It has been a blast once again, and I am going to be sharing one final video for you guys to enjoy, where you get to see me try and defeat Ozma under these same conditions. So I will say farewell for now. I will do my kind of proper outro / big farewell at the end of the Ozma video. But for now, I will just say stay tuned. The Ozma video is coming, and you'll get to see how I got on in that particular challenge as well. So definitely check that out when it drops, and I will see you there very soon. Thank you for watching. Take care.